The very best Christian leaders, on their very best days, lead like Jesus. They hold and do not compromise grace and truth. They've got strong convictions, but they live out those convictions with compassion. They lean into their call to be pastoral leaders without neglecting the need to be prophetic leaders. And it's such a gift, isn't it? When we see leadership like this in action, when we see churches that embody a call to repent and believe the good news on the one hand, and yet demonstrate almost limitless grace and compassion. When we see leaders who hold real spiritual authority, but like Christ, exercise it with such humility that the cost of discipleship is borne as much by the leaders as by the person being led. The best leaders hold grace and truth together. So that when the young man in your church tells you he thinks he's addicted to pornography, you don't say, "Well, that's no big deal. Everybody does it." You don't downplay the seriousness or the sinfulness of this behavior. You agree that it's a problem, but you also don't leave him to wrestle with it on his own. You weep with him. You pray with him. You give him your phone number and ask him to call you anytime. And as many times as he tries and fails, you never stop reassuring him of God's love. That's it. Grace and truth. Compassion and conviction. Pastoral and prophetic. I think that's the gold standard of Christian leadership. And it is so good when we see it in action. Of course, there are lots of times when we don't see it in action. We've all seen leaders who skimp on either grace or truth. Leaders who kick the can down the road on a challenging situation. It's the council who says, "Let's just let the next council deal with that one." Or there's leaders who get the truth right, but they act with so much arrogance and so little grace that the truth points no one to Jesus. And of course, there are still other times when leaders are so afraid of straining a relationship or making people uncomfortable that they minimize the truth. They try to keep everyone happy, and they end up with some good feelings, but no substance. It's hard to hold grace and truth, and it's easy to compromise. We compromise, of course, because we're sinners. But we also compromise because this is a rapidly changing, broken, sinful world, and there's a lot for leaders to be anxious about. You know, when leaders are anxious, they often do things they regret. They take shortcuts. They look for quick fixes. They find scapegoats to blame for their problems. They become insular and they forget about their mission to the world. In anxious moments, it's easy to compromise grace or truth. That's actually why we created Next Steps Discernment. Next Steps is a program designed to help leaders hold grace and truth as they discern and make decisions in anxious moments. In other words, we want to help you deal squarely with important issues in ways that point to Christ, build up the body, make disciples, and even witness to the power of God in our midst, all without, taking over your church's focused attention for years to come. If you'd like to learn more, check us out at crcna.org/PCR/nextsteps.